Thank you so much for having me here today. Um, some of you folks may be familiar with the period purse because we started off in here. Um, so a little bit about our story, and just to get it out there, we're going to say periods, we're going to say tampons, we're going to say pads. Menstruation might make you feel uncomfortable, and that's okay. So how we started was our founder, Jana, had an idea when she was driving down the street. She saw someone panhandling, and she was like, I wonder what they do for their periods. And so she thought about that a little bit, went home, decided to pack up a purse or something with some supplies she had left over in her cupboards. She posted it on our local Facebook group, and next thing you know, everyone was like, great idea, I have a purse, I have more supplies. And she realized she was onto something. She got onto CBC. I'm one of her friends. I was like, oh boy, I think we have a situation here. We're going to need a lot of help. So things kind of spiraled, and Reverend Lexa at the time allowed us to use this space. And we started collecting purses and bags and toiletries at that time, pads, tampons. And we had a big event here, setting tables down the aisles to pack up supplies and hand them out into the community. So that's sort of the start of the period purse. So our main goal is to strive to achieve menstrual equity and stop the stigma surrounding periods and just be more open about it. Goal is to have everybody to have access to the free menstrual products, or at least access to menstrual products of their choosing. Not everybody wants to use the particular supply. We all have things that we like and we don't like, and just having that choice. So since we started that first event, we packed over about 300 purses, and we were excited and thought we hit the jackpot. Since then, we have done about 173,000 in 5 years of purses. And when we talk about it, that's like one of these kits of supplies, which for most is more than 1 month's supply, depending on flow. And we've sent that all across Canada. So we're the first registered charity in Canada to be in this space. There are a few others and other groups, and it's wonderful because we cannot do it alone. During the pandemic, we had to sort of pivot. We had supplies up here. I remember carrying up boxes and shipments of stuff and having it up on the balcony and carrying it back down. During the pandemic in 2000, we decided that we've outgrown our space, and in order to increase our volume, moved to a storage facility just over down by IKEA. We kind of felt like college students going off to university and leaving our parents' home because we have grown so much. During the pandemic, we've seen the increase go substantially, and what we've been able to do, and through donations, as well as keeping up with the need, it's increased. So we, that first year in 2000, or that we were out in 2020, we sent out over 17,000 of these kits, or the equivalent of them, because some places wanted sealed products. Every year that's continued to increase. So this year, last year we sent out 68,000. And this year we're up to 60,000, and we're only halfway through the year. So to give you an idea of how many units of actual product that is, it's about 3.5 million pieces of product that we have sent out. Absolutely incredible, and we're so grateful for our donors. Unfortunately, there's still so much more to do. We're not keeping up with the need and the demand that's out there. So what do we do in talking about our work? So we have 3 key pillars when we talk about the menstrual space here and what work needs to be done: outreach, education, and advocacy. So outreach is donating our products to people in the communities who need them. Education is doing talks like this to let people know what's going on, but we also do talks in schools and different groups, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. And then advocacy. So let's make those policy changes and influence decision makers to actually change this so people get what they need. We don't question toilet paper being in washrooms, but somehow menstrual products are a little bit iffy, right? So outreach, we work with community partners. We do collections to try to actually get the supplies, get donations to buy supplies and ship them out. We work with local food banks, shelters, groups like here we have period products. Here, Stone Soup has been, they were at one point during the pandemic, the only way we were getting products out into the community. We're available to so many groups. So for example, Swansea Moose, I know you guys have a very strong relationship with them. They called us, that day I was like, here you go, here's more supplies, call us when you need more. Just to take this small piece of burden out of folks' need. Menstrual products, depending on flows and what products you need, it can be like $15 a month, right? So, that could be the difference between somebody putting a meal on their table or buying some fresh fruits or vegetables or paying that bill versus having products. So we try to do that. We also work with Indigenous communities to get the supplies that they require. And then that's a whole different thing because you have clean water, can they wash reusable products, all sorts of conversations that we have with that outreach. So food banks, shelters, locations, anyone who needs products, we try to get out and work with those community groups. The next thing that we do is the education. So we have an education program that we go into schools and we can deliver. Obviously, during the pandemic, we've had to pivot to doing those online like most things. But we talk about, it's curriculum based. So what is a period and how do our bodies work? 50% of the population menstruate at some point, and we all came from a period. It's something we kind of say, right? So period poverty. So just kind of unpacking that, discussing what those things are, and then talking about reusable products. It's something that's not really talked about a whole lot, but we have different types of cups and pads and underwear, and there's a whole thing, and every time you think you got it figured out, a new one comes out on the market. So we just kind of introduce some of the conversations around it that are important and the cost around it, because that's often what we get when people start thinking about this. Can you give them reusable stuff? Well, yes, but you need clean access to water and they're very expensive. It can be $40 for one piece. So that's a big conversation we have. And then we can work with them in giving them the education on how to use the product when appropriate. So we go in and do that to make sure it's the right fit for people. So we do that into schools. And then, like I said, doing these talks, reducing the stigma, having folks think about it, and having it sort of like, why are we concerned about this? Why is this something we don't talk about? What can we do to put supplies? Maybe at your house, you can put a drawer full of some supplies, or in the washrooms where you work or visit, and talk to them about having those products. So just doing that education. Our final pillar is advocacy. So this is kind of the juicy piece. So this is, we've talked about how to fix the problem, educate the problem, but what changes can we take place to actually solve the problem? So this is where we go in and we try to build awareness. We have Menstrual Health Day in May, where we try to light up buildings all over the country, just to kind of get onto social media and get exposure, get people speaking about it, as well. Going in and we lit up flags and did proclamations, again, talking about it. But the other, that's the flashy piece, but the other is doing that real work of trying to create policy change. So when we first started, we noticed that as we were unpacking this in those early days, Toronto city shelters didn't actually have a line item for funding for period products in their city shelters. So they would fund soap, toilet paper, all the various costs, but not menstrual products. So we advocated with the city to put that policy change in. They now have funding for it. It's great. It's something to celebrate, but it's still not enough. They still need the period purse and other organizations to fill in that gap. So it's continuing to have that conversation about filling those and making those changes. We also hear about in schools. So that's something else we worked with, putting free products in schools, trying to explain that they do need it, why students need it, even if it's not a financial burden. Students are still learning their bodies and their cycles, and accidents happen and you forget to pack something, and they need that access to that product so they don't miss out on class time. So we advocated for that change to put free products into schools. And we work with a lot of schools and school boards to put those products in, and then the provincial government put products in schools, but then let's unpack that a little bit further. It's not enough product for their actual students. It's not in every washroom, and it's only one product type, pads. And it's not in elementary schools, it's only in high schools. And students are menstruating as early as 9 years old, which is grade 5, right? Grade 4 and 5. So, those students don't have access to products. So it's, again, advocated, great job. We're taking a step in the right direction, but what can we do to push that a little bit more and continue to improve it? So we try to work with those things. The federal government's putting money to fund period products in Indigenous communities, and it still hasn't happened. They made the announcement, but let's work through that. Let's continue pushing that through. Federal buildings is something they might start putting products into that they've announced. So it's just, and we see a lot of cities and programming. We're working with the libraries to do a pilot program to start getting products in there, because that's a great point for people to access products. So it's just kind of continuing to advocate to show the need is there for product. Common thing we get is everyone going to go and steal all the product and take it all? And we always, there's 2 ways we answer that question, which is something that comes up is, if they're taking it, it means they need it. So that shows you how big the need is, right? And how often does toilet paper get stolen out of washrooms? Never, right? So often once people realize, and we see this with time and time again, and we always get this feedback, is it's taken for that first week or 2. And then once people realize that it's always going to be there, then it levels off and people only take what they need. And I would even go one step further, put it in all washrooms. You don't know, for somebody who is transgender, or they want to take it for a loved one at home that they know that needs product for their family. So that's the type of conversations we have and try to advocate for things. So kind of gave you a lot of information, and sort of, you might be rumbling, what can we do with this now, right? What can we do with this information? And I respond as, first off, speak openly about periods. Don't be ashamed. Talk openly. It might feel uncomfortable at first. If you asked me 5 years, 10 years ago, if I would be here doing this, I would have laughed hysterically. But take those steps, talk about those things. Have a little pack in your bathroom at home or in your workplace, just to kind of generate that conversation and change that landscape that periods are normal. They should be nothing to be ashamed of. If, again, 50% of the population has had one, people around you are experiencing it. So just be open about it. You can follow us on social media. We always have conversation starters on there, pieces of data and information, ways to get involved and whatnot. So we're on all platforms at the Period Purse. If you're able to donate, you can donate to us. We're registered charities, so financially, or donate actual product. And we have mini drives and all sorts of different ways to get involved online. Also, food banks, don't forget about them. If you're going to be donating to your local food bank, put some period products in there. The food banks are desperate for this stuff. We cannot keep up with the demand, and food bank usage has only skyrocketed during the COVID and the pandemic. So they really need this product. We're also knowing that people are talking more openly about periods. They're more comfortable asking for this product at food banks. So you can always do that as well. And then, you can do various levels of volunteering opportunities and events. And like I said, that we post online is always available to you. So yes, speak openly, follow on social media, donate, and don't be afraid to get involved in this space. Thank you.